Welcome to the dynamic learning hub of Exar at Anderi East. A prime spot conveniently located at just a 5-minute walk from LIC Anderi Metro. In our journey of over a decade, we have proudly trained over 2 lakh students. We have also been recognized by Deloitte, Silicon India, and other accreditation bodies. Experience learning like never before in our spacious and comfortable classrooms. With high-definition projectors and state-of-the-art acoustics in place, we ensure effective learning even to the farthest point in the room. The hybrid mode is a game changer as you can enjoy the benefits of a live classroom from the comfort of your home. Even if you happen to miss any classroom session, you can still attend the same session with the same trainer at the same time at your convenience, maintaining consistency in your learning progress. Wanna get started? Join us for a demo or career chat over a cup of coffee at our Anderi branch. Exar. We don't just train, we build careers.
Yes, so the collaboration with XLR was an excellent one. We conducted a Power BI workshop with Advanced Excel over a span of 3 days. The workshop was almost 12 hours long in total. Mr. Karthik, who was an amazing trainer, helped the students understand the concepts deeply. I am sure that the students will be able to apply these concepts in their careers as well as their daily lives.
The trainer, Mr. Karthik, was an excellent person where he explained in very detailed manner on how to give great insights using very complex data sets.
So it was a machine learning workshop. We learned a lot from the course and it was a great experience attending the workshop.
The trainer was very helpful. He had a hands-on approach with his teaching and it was fabulous.
This was a great experience for me. So I would absolutely love it if XLR and its team would come again to our campus and conduct more events like this.
It was a great course and it started from basics and took me to a great extent.
The experience of the workshop was really nice. The feedback from all the students was positive. They understood the concept. The workshop was also practical based with some questions. The experience with XLR was very smooth. They helped us in conducting the workshop smoothly right from the booking of the vendor and deciding the course till the distribution of certificates. In overall, this workshop was a success during our Technical Fest Atmos, and I thank XLR for being a part of it.
I was very much interested in learning digital marketing course for a very long period of time, but I don't get a proper platform. So later for my college, I get to know about Exar and I enrolled in Exar course. It was really good experience. Our course has been taken by Mayur sir, and he was very good teacher. He not only focusing on theory part, he is doing how real digital marketing works, and it was in total very good experience. I get so much of knowledge. Here they not only focusing on study, they are also conducting different exam to test our knowledge, and as we are giving the exam, so to appreciate our work, they give certificates for the toppers, and along with the certificate they give him.
Hi guys. So many of y'all had posted that y'all wanted a hands-on on Spring Boot, right? Which is the actual framework which we use in real-time development for Java. So I guess now there are less than 3 days left. So I thought of introducing y'all to Spring Boot, and y'all can put that also on your resume. Okay, so once I give y'all a walkthrough of a Spring Boot application, you all should be able to comfortably code in and try to make the CRUD APIs in Spring Boot also. Okay, so that would be our agenda for the next few days. So we'll try to make a Spring Boot application. So those who are now making their resume, you all can now try to add these bullet points on your resume, because your resume will be filtered by the keywords you all put on it. You know, every company has its ATS, applicant tracking system. So how the ATS works is, it scans through the keywords you have mentioned on your resume. Based on that, it will filter your resume and bring it up. And you will get calls from your various job portals. Okay. So right now what you can mention is, those who have done some basic of front end, you all can mention these technologies I'm posting on the group now. As you have done collections also, you all can put advanced. So instead of saying code Java, you all can also write J2SE and advanced Java you all can mention, and also mention J2AE. And now you can also mention Spring Boot, and you can say RESTful APIs. Web services. Database, you can put SQL. Okay. I'll also show you a little bit of Git also. You all can put Git also. Git version control, where you can put Postman also. Okay. These are API testing tool. So if time permits, I'll show you a little bit of PL SQL also. So if you put these keywords, should be sufficient for any ATS to filter out your resume. There are, I guess, many resume portals who help you all build your resume. So I'm not exactly sure of which portal you all use, but there are many resume templates. Some are paid, some are free. Resume.io is good one. Okay, so it has good, nice templates. Go to resume.io and try to see if they can have any free templates or not. This is a good tool. Okay. So then Canva is there, but Canva is used for more of either editing Okay, so people have joined. So I need to start with Spring Boot today. So before I start with Spring Boot, I need to clarify a few things which will help you all in the understanding of Spring Boot better. Let me know once you all are able to see my paint screen. You can just post on the chat that the screen is visible. So in Spring Boot, when we see, we have two terms, IOC and BI. Okay. Now you will hear these jargons a lot. Inversion of control and dependency inversion. Now what these terms are, I'll try to cover in today's session. So you have two relationships, is a and has a. Okay. So let's try to understand this and gradually we'll progress towards Spring Boot today. To explain is a and has a, let me draw this diagram and explain it to you. So we have vehicle and we can have car, bus, truck. Now, can you tell me where do I put is a and where do I put has a? Red lines and black lines. I have two, red line and black line. So to which line do I put has a and which line do I put is a? Yes. Black line, black is a. Black is a. Okay, that is correct. Black is a is correct. So I put a is a over here. So is a and is a. And then red is has a. Now where will I point the arrowheads now? Where will I point the arrowheads in is a and where will I point the arrowheads in has a? So in is a, the arrowheads come from bottom up. So is a bottom up. Is bottom up. So the arrowheads will point upwards. So you will read it as car is a vehicle, bus is a vehicle, and truck is a vehicle. The arrowhead will be pointing upwards. And has a is, yes, top down. As a is top down. So we will read it as car has an engine and car has a gear. Now this is your inheritance. In simple terms, if I have to explain is your inheritance. Okay, so inheritance is a relationship. And has a is your dependency injection. Has a is dependency injection. So when a class has a dependency of another class, that is called as a has a relationship. When a class inherits from another class, that is a relationship. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to make a class called engine. Let's say I put some properties in the engine class. Private, integer, engine number, private, string, manufacturer name, private double price. Okay, engine manufacturer name. Engine price. Like this, and methods also, whatever methods we have. So I have this class engine. Then I also have a class called as gear. And we'll have gear number, gear manufacturer name, gear price, let's say. And now when I make a class car, along with other attributes which I need to put in the car, along with the other attributes which I want to put into the car, such as car registration number, car model, car manufacturer name, car model name, car price, car color, along with these primitive attributes, I will also have to put which engine and which gear I will be using. Okay, you can just take it as E1 and E2 also. So here, this is called as dependency injection, that the class car has a dependency of an engine object and a gear object. Car class has a dependency of the engine object as well as the gear object. This is called as dependency. And then how do we inject the dependency? Okay, that is done by the IOC container. So in Spring, what we have is, in Spring, we have a term called as IOC container. This IOC container contains predetermined objects of the classes. So this IOC container, inversion of control, okay, stands for inversion of control. This is called as IOC container. Now this IOC container, what it has various beans. It has various beans. Lots and lots of beans it has. And one bean symbolizes one object. Okay, so let's say bean 1 and bean 2. Like this, it has lots and lots of beans. So we can put the object of the engine over here. We can put the engine class object over here in the IOC container. Engine class object. So when the IOC container will start, it will have the object for engine also, and it will have an object predetermined of the gear class also. So for each of the classes, I can have an object over here in the form of beans in the IOC container. So you can say IOC container has many objects of various classes in the form of beans. Lots of beans are kept in the IOC container. So now whenever a class needs an object, it can directly fetch it from the IOC container. So whenever I need a engine object, I can directly fetch that from the IOC container. So just I need to say is add auto wired. So now instead of creating a object all by myself, I don't have to do all that stuff now. Once you have configured Spring Boot, the Spring Boot has a very important component called as IOC container. So all the classes in our application, the IOC container will have predefined objects of all the classes used in our application. So whenever there is a need for an object, we can directly take it from the IOC container. So the IOC container has lots and lots of objects of various classes. So whenever you need any object, you can directly take it from the IOC container. So now in my car class, there was a dependency required for engine. Car had a dependency of engine. So how will the car satisfy dependency? By just directly saying auto wired, and it will directly get the object over here from the IOC container. Now the car also needs a gear. So who can tell me how will the car satisfy the dependency of the gear? How will the car satisfy the dependency of the gear? So how will I say gear G1? Any guesses? What do I need to add on top of that? What do I need to add on top of the declaration in the class so that I can inject that object over here? What is that? Annotation. Whatever has a at the rate is called as annotation. It's called as what? Annotation. So which annotation will we add? We will add the annotation called as auto wired. So this annotation auto wired is used for dependency injection. So dependency injection is one of the prominent tasks of the IOC container. Among various other tasks, one of the tasks of the IOC container is task of IOC. Among other tasks, one of the tasks of the IOC is dependency injection. That is, whenever a class needs an object of any other class, then we have to satisfy that dependency. And in Spring, who satisfies that dependency? The IOC container. IOC means inversion of control. And we have a container in our applications which contains objects of all the classes in the application in the form of beans. So whenever there is a requirement, we can directly fetch it from the IOC container. Okay. So this is what is IOC and this is what is DI. So now can you all write down what have you understood with regards to IOC container and dependency injection? So if in the interview, the interviewer will ask that you have mentioned Spring Boot on your resume, can you explain what is dependency injection? So how will you explain to the interviewer? I'm waiting for your chats, guys. And if you all write over there that we will use IOC container, then if he asks what is IOC container and what are the tasks of IOC container, so how will you explain that? Come on. So try to frame your answers correctly and have the confidence of speaking in the interview, guys. So I'm waiting for you all to explain it to me. What is DI and what is IOC? Let's see. Okay. I'm giving you 2 minutes to send in your replies. Let's see, people are sending in their replies. So how will you all frame the answer to the question, what is dependency injection? Once that is understood, then we can progress, and I can give you all a small demo of how Spring Boot application works. Has anybody worked on a Spring Boot application over here previously? So what a Spring Boot application is, I'll try to run you all through the code. We'll try to make a small application. So in a client server architecture, client is the service consumer and server is the service provider. So if we have a registration form, and in that registration form, let's say we are signing up for any e-commerce application. So it will ask us to fill a host of details. Okay, blah, blah, blah. It will ask us to fill a lot of details, asking for a username, password, date of birth. And then when we say register, it will take this data and store it in the database. So let's say I have a database table called as users or subscribers. So this is my database layer. This is my MySQL database. And in this MySQL database, we have a table by the name subscriber. Subscribers. Okay. And that subscriber table now has 3 columns. Namely username, password, date of birth. So when I click on register, eventually this data should be stored in the database. But then it goes through a lot of layers in our Spring Boot application. So you can think of this as the front end part. So this form you can design in HTML, CSS. Okay, so you can use your front end. And when you click on register in the Spring Boot, the first layer which will interact with the front end, that is called as the controller. So when I hit on the register button, I will say over here in the form, I'll give an action that what I'm trying to do. So I'll say I'm trying to sign up. So I will say I'm trying to sign up. Okay. So this action sign up is mapped to a request mapping in the controller. So there should be some request mapping with this action. What is the action? You can just add a slash and say sign up. There should be some request mapping in the controller, so that when the user clicks on this submit button, it should know to which request mapping it is going. So in this case, it is going to request mapping sign up. So this is same. This sign up will be mapped to some method. Okay. You can give the same method name as the endpoint. So now this code will be executed. The code in this method will be executed. So the controller is just the entry point to the application. The controller is the entry point to the application. So from the front end, whatever request is coming will first come to the controller. So depending on the action, the appropriate method will be executed. So if you have one more front end form, let's say, and that is selling sign up now. So you open one more front end form called as sign up. We'll take the username, we'll take the password, and then when it says login, it says login. So here, which form is being acted? So I'll say form action equals to login. So now it is taking login. So what will happen over here? The same thing should be there, because the request will first come to the controller. The controller then has to satisfy the request. So there should be some request mapping by the name of this action. So here you will have login. Okay. And then it will send to this method. So you can give the method name and the request mapping as same. So go to the login method. Okay. So like this, each request which is coming on the front end, first entry point of the application is the controller. So this is a class. Okay, this is my controller class. So I will say class subscriber controller. Class subscriber controller. Now the controller will just act like a receptionist. It will just be there to receive the request. Now to process the request, it will forward it to the business logic layer, that is the repository layer. Controller will then pass it on to the service layer. So now this is the service layer. The controller will pass on the data. Whatever data has come from here to the controller, to apply the business logic, it will pass on to the service layer. And to communicate with the database, we have one layer called as repository layer. Called as the repository storing layer. And this repository layer is also called as DAO, data access object. So this is how the application will flow in a Spring Boot application. And the DAO will communicate with the database. All the database related part, there will be lots of ready-made functions in the DAO layer. And then the repository will return to the service. The service will return to the controller, and controller will return to the client. So the client has one single point of contact. So client will always communicate with the controller. So, and this information which is being has come, that will be my entity or model classes. That will be my entity classes. So here I will make a class called as subscriber. And whatever attributes we need to put in this. So whatever data which will flow in the application, whatever data, the data which is flowing in the application, these are my entity classes. So the data which is flowing from one layer to another, it is flowing in the form of your entity classes. Your entity classes. So what did the front end send to the controller? It sent an object of the subscriber class. So the subscriber will have these three attributes: string username, string password, and date DOT. So whatever data is flowing, that is my entity. So now in a simple, and for the main, we have the application package, which has the public static void main. So now each one of them is a package. So how many packages will I make in a simple Spring Boot application? Who will tell me? In a simple Spring Boot application, how many packages will I make? And what are the names of those packages? Yes, anyone? If there's some disturbance at your end, you all can put it on the chat. If there is some disturbance at your end and you cannot communicate over voice, you can send your query over the chat. So how many packages will I make in a simple Spring Boot application? I will make basic 5 packages. So this package will be predefined for me. So whenever I will make a Spring Boot application, this package will come predefined, and the other packages I have to make. Okay, so we have a portal called as Spring Initializr, with which we can make a skeleton of a Spring Boot application. So if I use that, then we can get going. So those who are there with me can understand. So if I come here, so there is a site called as Spring Initializr. As I have used it earlier, so it is showing me in my options. And if you all type, you all will get it. Go to the first site. Okay, so here we have to do some choice. So we will go with build system maven, language as Java. Take whichever snapshot you all wish to. Let's take 3.3.4. You can change this later on. What should be the base package? So I take base package as form.xlr. The package name should always be in the reverse order of your domain. Okay. So let's make a interview batch, interview prep, customer management system. Okay. Let's say I make a customer management, and we are doing a subscriber. I'm calling it customer management. So I'm saying interview preparation, customer management. And now this is the name of your base package now. You can change it also if you want to. So, and this will be the name of your project. So when you will open your project in Eclipse, when you will open your project in Eclipse, by what name do you want to see that on the left window? By what name do you want to see your project on the left window over here? That is the artifact ID. So I will see it as interview prep CMS. Okay, just below our interview prep batch, so B and C. So interview prep CMS. If I want, I can change the base package also. So I'll just say com.xlr.cms to keep it simple. Okay. Keep packaging as jar, JDK as 17. And first for basic dependencies, what we need to do is, what you need to add is, you can add, because we are using Maven, so we have to add the dependency. So you can add dependency mentioned over here. Add the dependencies mentioned over here. So you can add web, and you can add JPA for the database communication. And my database I'm using is MySQL. The database which I am using is MySQL. So MySQL, I'm using version 5.1.15. Those who are using the latest version of MySQL using the MySQL workspace, they can add this dependency saying MySQL. So we will need the MySQL driver. So you all can take this dependency also. So this, we will add the latest version. The latest version is 8.0.3. I'm using a bit older version, so I will customize this dependency. So Spring Web, Spring Data JPA, MySQL server. Okay, I guess these should be sufficient for us for beginning. And then you can say generate. Okay, so it will download the app over here, extract the app, and whichever tool you are using, IntelliJ or IDEA. So see, I have extracted. So if you see my screen, I extracted this folder. So I open this folder now, and I go to the form XML. Okay, this is a very important file. So after extraction, now if you want to make any changes in the configuration, you can make over here. So I will go with version 2.6.0. This is my Spring version I will use, and I will go with JDK 1.8. Line number 30, you have JDK 17. I will use JDK 1.8. And see here, the MySQL connector jar, which you all are using, is this dependency. But I use 5.15, 5.1.15. So I will take my dependency. So let me take my dependency. So this is the dependency which I use. Okay. If you want, you can search for the dependencies on the internet. So if you want to search for the MySQL dependency, you can just say MySQL dependency Maven. MySQL dependency Maven. And go to the first site which comes up, and then based on your database, if you're using 8.0.3, use this one. I'm using 5.1.15. This is my database. I click on it, and whatever comes up over here, I just copy it from here and I paste it in my form XML. Okay, so I remove this dependency, and in place of that, I add this dependency. You can format it properly. You can remove the comment not required. Yeah. Now, once we have saved, what changes did I make? I made the Java version 1.8 and the Spring Boot version 2.6.0, and the dependency I added this as per my database. Now, once you have done the changes, now you can open your project in your my Eclipse. So, how to open an existing project in Eclipse? So, you go to File, and you say Open Project from File System, and then choose for the folder. Okay, we did not place it into our. Let's place it into our workbench. It's still in the downloads. It is still in the downloads. So I copied from the downloads. So what I'm doing is from the downloads folder, I'm copying this and I'm placing it into the my Eclipse workspace. So Eclipse Java programs. I'm pasting it over here. Interview preference. Yes. Now we can open it, the file, open project from file system, search where it is, it's in your workspace. So D, Eclipse Java programs, and what did we make the name as? Who remembers the name? The name is interview prep, right? So interview prep CMS. Just select this and you do a finish, and the application will open up over here against your interview. See, it is downloading all the jar files for you. So whatever dependencies we have added, it is downloading all the dependencies. Please wait for this entire progress bar to complete. Once completed, now you can expand your interview represent CMS. See, this is the basic structure it has given of the application. If I go to Java, I have one package com.xlr.cms, and it has only the main method over here. Now I need to make the various other packages. So just there should be extension of all these packages, should be the extension of your base package. So com.xlr.cms.controller, com.xlr.cms.service, com.xlr.cms.repository, com.xlr.cms.entity. So make these packages over here. Right click, new, and I make a package com.xlr.cms. I start with the controller package. Then right click, new package after controller CMS entity. Okay, they all should be an extension of the CMS entity. Then I do a package service, and if I do a package repository, see, like this, I have made all my packages, and I just have, as of now, only one class I have, which is my interview preparation class, which has the main method. Okay. Now, to configure our database credentials, so I go to the database and I make a database with our application. So let's say that we can use this database. So I go to the main page of my database and I make a database for you guys, okay? So I make interview DB, okay? I give your name for you is interview DB, right? Create. So all my database ready tables will be made in this database. So I need to configure my database. So we have to pick up some settings. So let me pick up some settings. So all the settings are in the application properties file. You can directly fetch this file. Directly you can fetch this file. Okay. Directly you can fetch this file. And in our interview preparation batch also, in the resources, you will have a file called application properties, and you can put all this settings over here and do the customization. Now, application name already I have, so I will not take it. I'm keeping port number 8085. Okay, what is the name of our database? So be very careful while. So our database name is interview DB. I'll copy the name from here. Come and I paste it. Database name is interview DB. Username is root. There is no password. This is the driver. If you are using the updated one, then your driver will be this mysql.cj.driver. Okay, so I have put both the drivers in this file. If anybody is using the latest, then need this. Yeah. So this much is sufficient for us to configure our database. If you use the latest driver, then you can use this form.mysql.cj.jdbc driver. Just put a CJ between MySQL and JDBC like this. But I am not using it, so I will not put anything. So all your queries will go to this database. This is the database configuration. Who is doing it parallelly with me, guys? So I can give you a glimpse of what is Spring Boot. So I can take 2-3 minutes and try to keep pace with me. Anybody who's doing it parallelly with me? So you can add this also on your resume. And Spring Boot is very much widely in demand in the market. Let's try to ask ChatGPT as to how in demand is Spring Boot. So last time I had shown you on the ChatGPT popularity of enterprise Java application, that only is open in front of me now still. Let's say is Spring Boot in demand in 2024 show by graph. Let's check what it returns. What is the demand of Spring Boot developers in the market? I'm sharing my screen. Okay, I hope you are able to see my screen. So it is preparing something. As I'm saying, show me by graph. So it is trying to prepare the graph. See, the demand of Spring Boot is on the rise. So in 2020 it was 65% demand. Now it is a linear graph. In 2024 it is 85% demand of Spring Boot developers. So as the demand is growing day by day, there is a steady increase in the popularity with a significant demand projected for 2024. This trend reflects Spring Boot's strong adoption in enterprise application development. Very much a need of the hour, and if you can put this on your resume that you have worked on Spring Boot, so even if you do one small application, you can at least speak something about Spring Boot in the interview. So who is doing it parallelly with me? If you want any configuration, I will share the configurations. Let me push this to the GitHub. Let me push this to the GitHub so that you all can practice parallelly with me. So I come here and I open Git bash. See, let me external Git also today so that you all become comfortable with Git also. Someone had requested yesterday to explain Git. See, now this is the local folder which I have on my laptop. It's on my D drive, my Eclipse Java programs, and this is the artifact ID interview prep CMS. Now this is not there on GitHub. So what I'll do is first, I'll make a blank repository on GitHub on which I will push this code. So let me come here, and this is my handle. Now on my handle, github.com/uisolanki, I will first come and make a blank repository. Okay, so try to follow this step by step. Give any name to it. I'll give the same name as I am giving over here: interview preparation batch Spring Boot application. Okay, Spring Boot application for the interview preparation batch. I have given over here spaces. GitHub repository will add hyphens in between them, and I will say create. Now this page, keep it up for some time. I will need some command from this page. Just don't delete it or don't click anywhere here and there. Now once I have the GitHub repository made, now how will I sync my local folder with that GitHub repository? So whichever folder you want to push onto the GitHub repo. So I go into that folder, okay, and I right click, and first I have to install Git also, okay. You'll have to also install Git. So you have to download Git and install it on the local computer also. So you need to download and install Git on the local computer also. So Git download, okay, so go to this site. You go to this site of Git download, and then choose whichever OS you have. Click on the version of OS. When you click on it, download will start, and then by next, you can install it. Okay, it will ask a lot of questions. Just you can say next, and install. So when you install the Git locally on your computer, then when you right click and when you say show more options, you will get this option of Git bash here. So this option you will get when you have installed the Git on the local computer. So I come here and it shows me this option. As it is my first time, okay, so let me expand this. I hope you are able to see my command which I am firing. As it is my first time, So first time you should try with git init. Means you're initializing the git commands for this repository. And now when I do, now there are few sequence of commands which you need to by heart. That's all. So git is not at all complicated, just a sequence of commands. I have made a documentation. Maybe I'll share it with you all over here so that you all can benefit from it. See this one. All these commands I mentioned over here in this document. So you can follow this document also. Should be helpful for you all. All the commands which I'm going to execute over here. See, I mentioned in this repository step by step. See, first go to the GitHub website, make a new repo, whatever name you want to give to the repo. Okay, then this command will come. So these I've copied this command and pasted over here, so I can reuse them. Then what did I said? Go to the folder on which you want to open git bash, and now execute these commands: git init, git status, amount 2, 3, git add dot, 4, again git status, 5, commit, and 6, push. That's 6 is this, and 7 is this. These two commands you can get from here. 6 and 7 command is mentioned over here. This is the command number 6 and command number 7. So let's get going and try to do it. So you can add this also on your resume, that you have some idea and some knowledge of working with GitHub also. They are very, very good keywords to have on your resume. So I did a git init, then do a git status. These are all my unstaged files. Means these files are not on the cloud yet. The cloud doesn't know about these files. So to make the cloud aware about these files, I will say git add dot. That dot means all the files. Now once I have added them to the cloud, I will just check, is the cloud aware of them now? If I do a git status, it will show me in green color. Means now the cloud is aware of him. So now I can do the commit. So I will just say git commit -m. I can say this is my initial commit. And once the commit is done, then you copy those two commands which we had kept on the web browser. So the two commands which we had kept on the web browser over here. Now you can copy those two commands. So first copy this one. This is done for the first time, okay? Copy this to Control C over here and paste over here is Shift Insert. And I paste it. Okay. And now this one. My master branch is master, not main. See, my main branch is master. So just I will change it from main to master. And now the entire code has been pushed onto the cloud, onto the GitHub cloud. So if I come here and if I just refresh my repository, you will see all the code has come over here. See in the SRC main, I will have the package CMS. In the CMS, I will have all the, now those packages are empty. So nothing has been pushed over here. My main file is over here. And even in the, what do you say, in my resources, I will have my application properties. So those who are doing parallelly with me, all the code has been pushed onto the GitHub on this repo. They can copy the configurations from here, whoever is doing parallelly with me. Very much recommended that you all do it, so that you all have some experience of speaking in the interview about Spring Boot. Okay. So now what I have done till now is just create a structure of my application. Okay. So, and this is my database. So right now our database is not having any tables or database. The count of table is showing in this round bracket. Data has 0 tables. So if I need to make any table in the database, all I need to do is just make a class in Java. So Java we use Hibernate. So what Hibernate is, I'll just make a class over here, customer. So private integer roll number or customer number rather, private string customer name, or what was it, username and password. Private string username, private string password. Okay, we'll add more attributes. Private int age, let's say. You can add as many attributes you want to add. Now in Spring Boot, database communication is done with the help of Hibernate, and Hibernate is an ORM. What ORM stands for? Object Relational Mapping. So now gone are the days when you would write all the queries. Now the entire query is wrapped inside the Spring Boot. So all you need to do is, if you want to create a table, what we would do earlier is, we would write a create table customer, and then C number, integer of 5, primary key. You write all this stuff, right? Now these are now all become obsolete. Now in what happens in ORM is, you just have to make a class, and when you run the application, implicitly, directly, internally, a table gets created in the database by that class name. So now we don't write the queries. Now it is all about object-oriented programming. So which class table you want to create, on that class you have to annotate at entity. So all the classes on which we have put entity, and entity from JavaX persistence. So all the classes on which we have put entity, their database tables will be created. And it is mandatory, if you are making a database table, you should have a primary key. So one column should be primary key, and that column we mark with @id. And again do an import like this. So it is as simple as that. Now if I run my application, in my database, internally a table will be made by customer, and that customer will have 4 columns. That's all. So now we don't write complex queries. We just focus on object-oriented programming. Okay. So let me show it to you all. Let me show it to you all. Okay. Yeah. Now we can, so this is a class, right? So we'll have all the, whatever we would put in the class, right click source. So it will have the constructor generate. So we'll have the all args constructor. And as I said earlier, whenever you write a all args constructor, compulsory that you write a no args constructor. Then I will write setter getters. Source, the data is private, so we can access them using setter getter. And then we also write toString. Like this, you can create a simple class and not it with @entity, and give it a primary, choose whichever column you want to make as primary key. Okay, now this much is done. Now if I run my application, you will see. So again, I'm showing you all. Right now, there are no tables, 0 table, right? This is my database, interview DB. It has 0 table. How do I know? I'm using interview DB. So I go to the application properties, and here I have told I'm using this database. If you're using a different database, you can write that name over here. Whatever is your username, write that. Whatever is the password, you write that. My username is root, there is no password. This is my driver. Okay, let's try to run the application now. So to run the application, go to the main method, right click, run as Java application. If everything goes well, it will tell you on which port your application has started and how many seconds it took for the application to start. What happened over here? It is not able to identify my driver. It is having difficulties in identifying my driver. So let me check in my form XML if I added the correct dependency. In the form XML, I come here and I check. Yes, dependency was added was correct. So let me check. Maybe download the jars for that. If I search over here MySQL, yeah, connector jar is there, MySQL. All good. Everything is good over here. Then why is it causing a problem? Let me do a project clean once. This window is gone, so how to get it? Window, show view, and project explorer. Whenever you add a new dependency, try to do a project clean once. Just clean your project once. This is your project. Interview CMS. Clean it. Close all. Interview CMS. So we have given customer as an entity with add ID and all these attributes. And then we have done the settings. Driver is form.mysql.jdbc.driver. Yes. All good. Everything is good to me. Everything is looking good to me. And what is the problem? Let's rerun the application check. Let's rerun the application check if what problem it is creating. Cannot load driver form.mysql.jdbc.driver. It is not able to load the driver. Cannot create data source, and it is telling illegal state exception cannot load form.mysql.jdbc driver. Why can't we load that? All the configurations are correct. Application property also is correct. Database name also is correct. The same database name I have been using for my other application. form.mysql.jdbc.driver. Okay, see guys, there's an extra space I added over here. Extra space got added, so I need to cut that space. That was causing the problem. Now let's check it out. So now let's check it out. What happened now? Data source is not able to find the driver class mysql.jdbc.driver. This is the actual driver I have. Yes. I did some changes in the driver. Let me again do a project clean. So whenever you do anything, always clean your project and then run. So we are interview preparation, CMS. I do a clean. And now if I run the code, see guys, I did nothing and it has started. I did not do anything. I just rewrote the driver name. It has started. So in the end, it will show you this message that it has started on which port and how many seconds it took to start. Once you get this message, means your Spring Boot application has started. Now all you need to do is go to the database and just refresh your database and you will see that one table has been created. See over here. One table has been created for you. And if you will check that table, it will have 4 columns. So I did not write any query. It was our database interview DB. So now it has one against state name, right? Now it has a one against state name. And what is that one? That one is the name of the table. And that table, if I click, will have 4 columns. And what are these columns? These 4 columns are the data members of that class. These 4 columns are the data members of that class. So this is how easy Spring Boot makes the development look like. Okay. Now let me go to the controller because that is the entry point of the application. So always remember this in your Spring Boot application. Whenever you are making a Spring Boot application, try to remember this. So once you have an entity, there should be one individual controller, one individual service, and one individual repository for each entity. So if I have subscriber as entity over here, I should have subscriber controller. This is a class. And this is a class. I should have a class subscriber service. And this repository is an interface. So I can have an interface subscriber repository. So for each individual entity class, you should have one set of controller, service, and repository. So after subscriber, let's say if I have a class product, if I have a class product and I want to make a table of this in the database, so I will mark it with @entity. This is my entity class. So what do I need to make? I need to make one set of controller, service, and repository for the entity product also. So I will make a class product controller, product service, and product repository. So now in this case, can you all tell me what will be the name of my controller, service, and repository class? So for each entity, you make a set of these three. So who can tell me now? Looking at the code, what I should be making? Yes, guys. Any guesses? Yes. So for each entity, a set of controller, service, and repository. So I go to the controller and I make a new class and I say customer controller. I go to the service, right click, new, make a class, customer service. And I make a repository, new, that is the interface, customer repository. To interact with the database, we use the customer repository, that is the interface. Now the client will always hit an endpoint. Okay, so your controller class, so as the entity class was annotated with @entity, the controller class should be annotated with @restController. The service class should be annotated with @service. So this will help the IOC container to keep beams of these classes. And the repository should be annotated with @repository. So everything is based on annotations. In your Spring Boot, everything is based on annotation. The more comfortable and thorough you are on the annotations, the more proficient you are a Spring Boot programmer. Okay. So those who are doing parallel programming with me, I'm giving you all some breathing space in between so that you all can keep pace with me. Now see, now I have made these changes. So now after my previous push, what all changes have happened in the application? If you want to check, then again do a git status. So it will show you in red color which all files have been modified and which all new files have been added. So it is telling the application properties have been modified and the service, these four. What modification has happened in this? If you want to check, so control insert is for copy, and you can say git diff and shift insert. That show me what changes has happened over here. There were no changes at all. It was as same to same, right? What we remove and what we replaced it with. So word to word same. But still it was causing some problem with the driver. This is what I wrote initially, which is in the red color. So it was showing errors. So then we removed that and we added this. So what we added and what we removed, I don't see any difference between them. So once I replaced this line with this line, the code started executing. And they were more or less the same line. Like this, you can use the git diff to check what changes also you had made. So now once you have done a git status, we'll show you in red color all the files which have been modified. Okay, you just do a git add dot means all. Dot means all. And as you add all the steps to the staging, now if you do a git status, you will see all the files in green color. Now the cloud is aware of these files. Now we just need to commit and push them. So just do a git commit. While committing, you have to give a message -m and then give any message. Added the packages. And now just to do a git push. And all this code will be pushed to the repository. So now if you come here to the web, and if you go and check for your repository, you'll see all the latest features have been pushed over here. If I go over here, you'll say just now I added the packages. Now if you go into the repository, now if you go to the SRC, and now if you go to the main MS, you'll see all the packages, controller entity repository service. This is my main application. Okay. So like this, you can parallelly keep on committing your work also on the Git. Okay. So all the packages done. So now the client will interact with the customer repository and we will make some request. So the client can hit those requests. So I will say request mapping. And if I hit a request mapping call welcome, it will be mapped to which function? To this function, let's say, which will return a string. And normally what I do is I keep the mapping and the function name as same. And I will say return welcome to Exar EdTech private limited. Okay. What happened over here? So this is the customer repository, no? We have to go to the controller. Entry point will be the controller, correct? So we have to go to the controller. Guys, attendance has been rolled out. Those who have not marked their attendance can start marking their attendance wherever they have joined from. So now I have made a controller endpoint /welcome. So whenever user tries to hit /welcome, so whenever the user from the front end open up the browser, the user will open up the browser, and when it will open this application. So this application is now running on localhost. So I will say localhost. Any idea on what port number this is running? Any guesses on what port number this is running? I had mentioned the port number over here in the properties. Which port number? 8085. You can give any port number which you feel like. If you want to make 8087, you can make 8087 also. So when I do a save, so first stop the application and then restart your application. So, and always run from the main class. So now if you will see that the application has now started on port number 8087. with port number 8087. So if you want to hit this application, the client will say localhost port number 8087, and he will hit which endpoint /welcome. So this /welcome will be received by the controller. Will be received by the controller, and I will check, is there any mapping by the name /welcome? Yes, it will come over here, and this function will be executed. So it will return what? Welcome to Exar EdTech Private Limited. So let's try to hit this in the browser and check whether it is working. So let me, I hope you are able to see my browser screen, guys. Okay, so I'm saying 8087 /welcome, and I hit enter, and see it returns with a response, welcome to Exar EdTech. Like this, the request will come from the client, and my Spring Boot application controller will receive the request. Okay. Now, if I want to return an object, so if I say, I make an endpoint get customer. So this is the method name. This is the endpoint also. So what this will do now, will make me a customer. And then we'll add some attributes to the customer by setter methods. So we'll say set the C number as 18. C1 dot set the username as Virat. C1 dot set password Virat123, and C1 dot set age 35, and now I will return C1. Now C1 is a what type? Customer type. So I will say this function will return you a customer. So now if anyone tries to hit this endpoint get with a small g and with a capital C customer, it will return this customer object to it. So this is what our Spring Boot is for. It gives us endpoints. Okay, these are called as RESTful endpoints. These are called as RESTful endpoints. And whenever you hit any endpoint, it will return a response. And that response will be in the form of a JSON object. So now if I try to hit this endpoint get customer, it will give me the detail of this customer. So as I've made changes in the application, I have to stop the application, clear the slate, save everything, and then right click on the main, run as Java application. Okay, wait for that line which tells that application started in these many seconds. So wait for that line, don't rush. Okay, once you have that line, yes, started. Then you can hit the endpoint, copy the endpoint from here now. So to the client, we will just give the endpoint. To the client, we will just expose the endpoints like this. And when the client hits an endpoint, what the application will return, that is all Spring Boot all about. So I come here now. So now I hope you're able to see my browser screen. Now if I do /welcome and I hit save, it gives me the object. This is the object which I had created. So this is what happens when you make your website. So if I make a Amazon.com, so whatever these products are there, these are information returned from the Spring Boot application. Then the front end application using React or Angular, the data has been returned by the backend, and the front end will just reflect that data. So the actual data which has come like this. See, I'll show you an example. I'll show you an example. What your Spring Boot does is, it returns you the data in the form of JSON. So it returns you data in this format. See this, you see this? It returns you data in the JSON format. And this data now is taken and it is shown to you all on the various websites. So we can study React.js, AngularJS, any, and then we can show this. So let me show you an existing. Now let me show you how we take this data and then we show it. Yeah, I'll just show you all now how this same data is now taken. So this is my React. Okay, I open my React and the VS Code. So I first go to the application which let's see. It opens up my application. See, the same information, if you just observe, the same information which is in the JSON format, see over here. Okay, file Raven, fold stack number 1, backpack, price 109.95. That same I need to show it using the front end. Same name, same description. So Java Spring Boot's job is to return you the data, and then your task as a front-end developer is to reflect that data onto the website using any of the front-end technologies. So if you are well versed with React, you can use React.js and show it. And if you are well versed with Angular, even if you are well versed with Android, so as the Spring Boot developer, our job is just to return the data. Then the front-end team will take this data and their job is to reflect the data. So if the client has asked for a website, I will use React.js. If the client has asked for a Android app, I will use React Native or any of the Android technology. So Spring Boot developer's job ends once he has returned the data. So if you get hired as a Spring Boot developer, all your job will be to create endpoints. And once I hit that endpoint, is it returning the appropriate data? My task is done. Then as a front-end developer, your task will be to take this data and reflect it using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So this data, this raw data is given to you and you need to present it like this. And if you can do both, return the data and display it, then you can call yourself as a full stack developer. Then you can, Sushmita, can you please resend the attendance link? The students are asking for it. So if you can do both, then you can call yourself as a full stack developer. Okay, so as of now, as a backend developer, what are we creating? We are just creating the endpoints, and when the customer hits the endpoint, we will return the data to it. Okay, so let's say if I have multiple customers and I want to have a list of customers. So what I can do is I can say get list of customers. So whatever endpoint the customer will hit, it will map to a method. What that method will do? It makes one customer object. It makes two customer objects, three customer objects. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 2, 2, 2, and 2. 3, 3, 3, and 3. Okay. Change the data. Okay. Now what I will do, I'll make an array list of them. So I'll make a array list of customers. So as I said, whenever you make a collection, always make of what type you have to. Even though the array list can be heterogeneous, but we normally use it as homogeneous customers. And in this customer, let's add all these three customers. Dot add C1 and add C2. And once I've added all the customers, I will return this customers. So what is this customers? The customer is a list of customer, not a single customer. That's why the response type of this will change to list of customers. I do a save as I made changes in the application. I will stop the application, clear the slate, right click, run as Java application. And now I can hit this endpoint. This will give me a list of customers. But first wait for the signal that the application has started successfully. Do not rush. Okay, I have got the message started successfully. I can go to the browser now and try to hit this endpoint, and it will give me all the list of customers. See, these are the list of customers I have. So Spring Boot developers' task is to generate this data and give it to the front end team. Okay. So now let me push this much data for today. So tell me, who will tell me the commands I need to follow for GitHub? 3-4 commands are there. First, do a git status. We'll give you a list of all those files which have been modified after last commit. So these files have been modified. Then put it for staging by doing git add dot means all the files. Once they add staging, if you do a git status, we'll show you all the files in green color. And then you have to just say commit with a message what you did. So you can say I made RESTful endpoints, and then there's no git push. And now if you check the code, the latest code has been available on the GitHub repository. So if you come here, and now if you just click on the latest code has come now. See, just now I pushed one code. If you go to the SRC, it will give you the latest code. I go to main, I go to X, I go to the controller. See, all my controller code I have got over here. See, I also have welcome. I also have get one customer. I also have get many customers. Today I did not connect it with the database. Tomorrow I'll try to connect and fetch it from the database and show you all. Meanwhile, you can just practice, watch the video, and try to practice this for today. Those who have practiced this, tomorrow I'll show those guys how we can interact with the database in Spring Boot. Okay, I've shared the repository also on the chat, and you all can access that. Okay, let's give the final 5-7 minutes for interview for what do you call question answers. If you have any queries, you can post your concerns on the chat and I'll reply to them. Okay. Yes, guys, you can post in your doubts, concerns, queries. Yes, Ryan, you can create a front end also in Spring Boot. In Spring Boot, you can create your front end also. See, I'll show you my Spring Boot application in which I have made the front end. See, this is my. Okay, so if I try to start this application, we have a time leaf dependency. So if I run the application, okay. So the application is starting now, okay. Now this refresher batch. So let's wait for to successfully start the application. You know when it has started executing. See, on port 8085 it has started. If I go and hit on the port 8085 now, if I go and hit on port number 8085, so I've added security also to it. I've added security also to it. So my application will log in with the password. Now see, once it successful, I can do the UI also over here. See, these are all users I've added. It is fetching from the database. How do I know it is fetching from the database? If I go to the file over here, but my database name is refresher DB. If I go to the refresher DB, these will be the list of customers over there. So from interview DB, I am going to refresher DB. See, and if I go to the refresher DB, if I go to the list of customer refresher CMS, refresher CMS DB, so refresher CMS DB, not refresher DB, refresher CMS DB, refresher CMS DB, this one. All this information which is over here in 1, 2, 5, 10, 12, 11, 13, 14, Virat, Rohit, Alice, QT, all this is shown over here. Virat, Rohit, Alice, QT. I can update also, I can delete also. I can add a customer also. So I can add you. Rayan. Okay. Now visible, Rayan. Okay. So let me just say anything. Rayan at gmail.com. Any random phone number, mail. And now when I add you, your data comes over here. I can update also. Mobile number change from 6666 to 7777. Submit, your data gets updated. I can delete also. All CRUD API I can do on the UI also. So yeah. Getting it? Yes, guys, any doubts, concerns, queries you all have? So, okay, then tomorrow we'll try to sync up with the database. As of now, I'm just returning hard-coded data. Tomorrow we'll try to save into the database, update and delete. We'll do all the CRUD APIs. Okay. Okay, Sushmita, you need to make any announcement?
No, sir. Can wind up for the day.
Okay, thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you, sir. So, students, I have shared the attendance link. Kindly mark your attendance and drop this session. And tomorrow you don't have any test, students. The test will be on Friday. That is the last day of the session, which is on 27th. That is on Friday. You will be having a test. Okay. So kindly mark the attendance and drop the session. So the test timings will be 8 to 8:45 to 8:50. It will be for 45 minutes. Okay, I hope you all marked your attendance. So we'll wind up for the day. Thank you all. Good night.